Hello and welcome to the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. As always, I'm Steve Smith, your host. Australia is in a whole world of COVID hurt in a lockdown, and maybe this is your golf release. This is episode number 22. A quick little intro, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number 22, where look, we're going to make a quick overview of some weather conditions that's going on for your golfing spring ahead here in Australia. A little bit of an update there as to what's happening with some interesting outlook ahead. Also, it's that spring time of the year, so there's a few renovations going on. We'll do a wrap-up of some other states and around the country that are doing a bit of work on some golf courses there. And there's a bit of interesting stuff going on around the place, which is good to see. And the Greenkeepers Shed makes a little return with, we're going to talk about hole positions on a green and player knowledge before you go out in competition to play golf, and things like hole location maps. So that's what's happening on today's episode of the podcast. Let's get stuck into walking the fairways. Welcome all to Walking the Fairways. It's a beautiful time to be out there enjoying the space that is around us on a golf course. So metaphorically speaking, let's just see what's going on as we browse the fairways across Australia. And look, we'll start off with a weather report, like I mentioned, with the growing season ahead. Now, there is a high chance, the Bureau of Meteorology tell me personally, or maybe not me personally, but anyway, they tell us that there is a very high chance of La Nina redeveloping around October, November this year as we move into the mid to latter parts of spring. Of course, that's what it is in October, November, the second and third month of the season of spring here in Australia. Now, that means that we're going to, they're forecasting a higher than average rainfall total or their amounts for the east coast of Australia. And look, that's if you're a greenkeeper in spring and you don't have a high amount of water infrastructure and water supply at your disposal, this is a really good thing for the season ahead. So I'm talking some regional golf courses, some golf courses that have never really had the money. They're not high-profile clubs that have big memberships, but they're probably more local-based public access courses that do deal a little bit more with the local weather, as it were. They're the sorts of courses that are really going to thrive if this comes through. We know in seasons gone by, certainly in the last year and a half or 2 years, that we've had some floods come around with a La Nina event style that happens in the weather systems in Australia here. Last year was certainly that, and we had lots of floods and lots of heavy rainfall. We hope that doesn't happen to that extent, of course, but as a greenkeeper and certainly greenkeepers across the East Coast, we'll be looking for some good rains to really get the course regrowing, and that means a good season with better growing conditions and certainly a little bit more of a better quality out there for people to play on, a little bit more grass to play on as well, which is another positive thing coming into that season. So look, this has come from about, what they're saying is 95% of the international weather models at the moment are agreeing with this forecast trend. So that's why they're saying it's a high chance of it happening, and we look forward to, like I said, seeing that come through if that's the case. And look, we could be in for some more good growing conditions in those regional courses, which is what I talk about. So, really positive stuff happening, and looking ahead, and I'm sure all the greenkeepers out there and your clubs out there that, like I said, that don't have that infrastructure, they will certainly be watching the skies and looking at the forecast to see if they can time their spring renovations and spring fertilizer programs, get them out there and use Mother Nature to their advantage. So looking forward to that side of it. And speaking of renovations, it's that time of the year which, we've had a little bit of a warmer time to the back end of winter, to be honest, because we've had a lot more cloud cover this season, a lot more rainfall through the middle of winter on the East Coast, certainly, and it's had higher than average temperatures. So I know some of the courses out there have already got stuck into their renovations for spring, and they're really looking to get those things completed, get the renovations completed, and get out there. So if your course is having it, or if you're at a golf course, that's doing some renovations, look, be patient, bear with them. You know that how good the results are going to be at the back end of all of this. So positive times ahead, and really look forward to everyone coming out and playing golf And I say that loosely because hopefully we're allowed out of our homes to play golf after lockdown. Most of anyone who's listening probably knows you are in lockdown or have been in lockdown or are thinking about coming out or going in. Who knows what's... Look, honestly, if you wake up, everyone, we don't know what's going on. We're just following the news and seeing what's happening. So we're all looking forward to spring, I think, and being released from whatever the COVID rules are of where we are. And let's just get out there and play golf, hey? I'm just really looking forward to it. So I think with these few things happening, weather conditions ahead, forecast, renovations being completed now or certainly soon to be so, it's going to put us in good stead for spring and get everyone excited about getting out there and playing golf again. And you know what? If your course or somewhere that you're looking to play hasn't done renos yet, just if you want to play golf and you're thinking about when you can go and get out there in September, some courses might not be doing renovations. Like I know places like the Blue Mountains, maybe even the Southern Highlands, may not quite be far enough along yet and coming out of winter that they can do their renovations with a good deal of sort of, consistency that they got past those real cold nights. So make a phone call. Just see. Call ahead. These places, all golf courses have planned as to when their renovations are happening. So if you're unsure and you really want to, plan ahead for having your games and getting out there and enjoying some golf in springtime, why not do the positive thing? Call your club ahead of time and say, when are your renovations? Because I want to try and work out my golf schedule around that. Don't wait till the last minute and say, I booked in for this date and you didn't tell me renos are on. Just ring them and find out. That's the easiest way to do it. If they're not actively telling you, which I do say to every club and every greenkeeper out there, try to do your best to get the communication out to players and golfers and members alike that you're doing renovations and what days it's on and roughly how long you think it's going to be before the greens have recovered. Usually anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the level of renovations that they're doing. But if you're a player and you're planning on it, call ahead and ask the question. There is no harm in asking. In fact, you'll do yourself a massive service and a big favour by asking the question. So I urge you, call ahead and find out when renos are on. But I know some places are taking the opportunity to, with lockdowns and no players and limited players, to do renovations maybe a little bit earlier than they would have had in mind, which is a positive thing as well. That's what's going on there. So, look, good times ahead, guys. And as we traverse our fairways today in this episode, we're going to go straight to Victoria. Let's head to the southwest of Melbourne on the Great Ocean Road on your way to Cape Otway, if you're not really sure where that is, to a 9-hole golf course at Apollo Bay Golf Club, no less. Now, McMahon's a construction company. Now, they've been engaged by the club to realign their 9th hole with basically a full hole redesign, which is including new tees, new green surrounds and bunkers. And it's obviously, like I said, it's a 9-hole course. It's their closing hole. So I assume there's probably a little bit of a safety solution involved in this, along with maybe speccing up their finishing hole. So that's sort of probably a couple of things that they're trying to tie in together with their 9th hole at the moment. I don't know the golf course, but I have looked at it on a map, which I do love to do if you don't know already. And the location looks incredible. But look, Apollo is down on the Great Ocean Road. It's an incredible place, and I'd love to say to visit right now, but we know that that's going to be difficult at the best of times. If you're in Victoria and you know the course, look, with these lockdowns and limited play happening, these things will probably be finished very soon, but McMahon's will get right stuck into it, and really good to see a smaller regional course doing a little bit of construction work and improving their golf course in any way that they can. So, look, Apollo Bay's one to keep on your list, and I'd probably, if it's me, I'd be thinking of somewhere around, give it a bit of time to grow in once they're finished, but honestly, off the top of my head, I'm going to be saying October, November, before this has started to get in enough that it's probably going to be open. I'll try and keep you up to speed on it. But there you go, Apollo Bay, and McMahon's doing a little bit of work down there in Victoria. Now we stay in Victoria to Kooringal Golf Club in Altona. Now that's about 30 minutes drive southwest of Melbourne, just around Port Phillip Bay. And they've just announced that Crafter and Mogford of Golf Strategies are their new consulting architects, and they'll be a part of the club and the course moving forward. So, look, with this announcement that's come out, expect to see some improvements over the coming years at Kooringal. And, it's another course I'm not too familiar with down that southwest side, but looking at it, looking into it a little bit, doing a little bit of research, it's a quality golf course, got a good bit of history, and look, Craft and Mogford, these guys do some fantastic work around the place on plenty of golf courses. So, like I said, keep an eye out for Kooringal. They have been doing a little bit of work around there just the same in some recent months. But Craft and Mogford, let's see what's ahead for Kooringal and if they do any major announcements with some course improvements over the coming years. Now we head east around Port Phillip Bay this time from Melbourne to the Mornington Peninsula, down to Mornington Golf Club itself, where Ben Davey, I should say, from Contour Golf, being assisted by Darius Oliver in this one, is they're right into the work on the golf course there, and they're redesigning the sixth hole at Mornington. Now, I know a couple of people that are from the Mornington Golf Club there that do enjoy a game of golf down that way. It's got a good name, Mornington certainly, and it looks like a fantastic golf course, one I'd love to get down there and play myself. Now, the sixth is a mid-length par 4, which now has full sweeping views of Port Phillip Bay thanks to some very selective tree removal on the approach to the green. It looks fantastic. And this green's going to become like an infinity green as you play the hole. So there's some real cool stuff happening with the levels and things on the fairways of this one, and expect to see a fantastic product come out of it. Now, the redesigned hole is going to be bunkerless. That's an interesting note. I always like to see and hear when architects do this type of thing. So a bunkerless hole is how the six will finish up. So expect some interesting groundwork to be incorporated into the design of the hole to add some character and challenge in there for you as a player. So that's something that we'll be interested to watch and see how that unfolds with Ben and Darius and what they're trying to achieve down there, making it a bunkerless hole. And like I said, it's up high on the plateau, and the green's just sort of put, it's going to finish off where the earth just drops away. Like I said, and the green itself, they're pushing it slightly further back, which will obviously lengthen the hole a little bit, and it's just going to bring out this view. It's going to be fantastic. So keep an eye on this one. As I mentioned, Mornington's a well-regarded golf course, and the new work will no doubt be well received. I've got absolutely no doubt. And incidentally, I met Ben Davey when I was at the ASTMA conference up at the Gold Coast there a couple of months ago, and he's a great guy, and he's done some fantastic work around the country. And look, I'll put it out there now if you're listening. I'm going to see if I can get Ben on the podcast to have a bit of a chat. I've spoken to Harley Cruz, as you well know. You probably know of Harley well enough. I've had a few chats with him now on the podcast, and look, let's see if I can get Ben on here from Contour Golf. We'll see how that goes. We'll lock that one in as a on the wish list, let's say. So, look, Mornington and the sixth hole. I'm going to try and put some stuff out there on Instagram for you to see if you can, just to show you some of the stuff that they're getting up to down there at Mornington. It looks sensational. Now, the last course we're going to look at today in Victoria is Yearing Meadows Golf Club. Now, it's a 27-hole Ross Watson design facility and the northeast outside Metro Melbourne, up in the Yarra Valley there. Beautiful part of the countryside it is. Plenty of good golf courses up that way, absolutely. And if you're a Melbourne person, Melburnian? Let's probably go with Melburnian. Sounds a bit better than a Melbourne person. If you're a Melburnian, I'm sure you've visited that place on numerous occasions and played plenty of the golf courses that are there for your tasting. Now, they've been busy during the winter months, like a lot of golf courses have, as I've mentioned, and they've been rebuilding some of their bunkers, including the greenside bunkers on the 8th and the 18th, using a new bunker liner and new bunker sand. Now, that puts them in good stead for the future with these works at Yearing Meadows. And look, it's a golf course that it's not very old, but as I keep saying, and you've probably heard me talk about plenty of times, that golf courses are moving targets. And if this course, when it was built, didn't have any of those products put into their bunkers, now is the time to do it as they look at improvements to the course that they can make over time. So there's one. If you're a Yearing Meadows regular, you'll have seen some of the bunkers. And if you're thinking about going there, like I keep saying, when we're allowed out to play golf, if you're thinking about going down there, they're improving their bunkers on course. So a very good thing happening at Yearing Meadows, and there's a little bit of a wrap for Victoria. Now we head on up to Queensland, guys. And I forgot to previously mention that the golf course known as Victoria Park in Brisbane officially closed down for good at the turn of the financial year a month and a half ago on June 30. Now, it's going to make way for a huge investment from the Brisbane City Council. And that what they want to do is they want to convert it with large amounts of cash, no doubt, into a large, very large, integrated multi-use parkland space. And they will retain some golf on the site, such as a driving range and a mini golf facility. But that's about all for the extent of golf happening there at the Old Victoria Park Golf Course. And we can say the Old Victoria Park because sadly it's officially gone. I don't know the course, never played the course, but it was a stalwart similar to Moore Park Golf Course in Sydney and Albert Park Golf Course in Melbourne, whereby Victoria Park was for the public. It was easy access for the public and the inner city people to get around there and play golf and have access to a golf facility and a 18-hole golf course. So sad to see the end of that. But what it makes way for, public golf is not all lost in Brisbane because the Brisbane City Council will move their public access course to a whole new golf course that they're building at Cannon Hill, which will be called Minnipi or Minnipi. Still not sure which way to pronounce that. Minnipi Golf Links. And that was the course that I got to visit that's currently under construction by, again, McMahon's construction company, the large golf construction company. I visited back there in June as part of the ASTMA conference where I got to see it. Now, it's on a floodplain, 18-hole golf course, open to the public, and it is a bunkerless golf course that they're building there. But look, it's all about giving them... It's a little bit further outside than where Victoria Park used to be. It's a little bit further south of the city itself, but that's what it's there for. There's a new residential development going on around it as well, and basically that is now the council-based or the council-backed 18-hole public access golf course. So a brand new golf course that will be available probably, my guess, I'm going to say late next year, the way it's going. COVID, construction, all those sorts of things have slowed down a touch, and weather's been pretty good. But generally speaking, these things need time to grow in. They've got all sorts of forecast timeframes and all that sort of stuff for opening dates. And I'm just going to throw it out there and say it. It's not going to happen by when the politicians and the councillors are saying. It's just not going to happen that way, people. You've got to give them a little bit of time. It's green space. It's a living organism. Plenty of living, breathing components to a golf course. And I'm guessing end of next year. That's my guess. So I'm throwing it out there, but that's what's happening. So Victoria Park did close down officially, and it is no longer part of the Australian golfing landscape. Now we head north to Mullaney Golf Club on the Sunshine Coast north of Brizzy. Now, they have got a new putting green installed, ready for the warmer playing season ahead. They've used a couch grass, Tiff dwarf couch on the surface there, and it seems to be growing in very well by all accounts. So if you're a Mullaney regular, look forward, and if you haven't been there through winter, you're not a winter player, you're looking forward to spring and summer when things are a little bit warmer, they're going to have a new putting green that should be up and running for you before too long. So a positive thing happening at Mullaney up there, and it's always great to see these little things going on at golf courses and always improving, and the practice putting surface is very important. You may not think of it, but trust me, if you stop for a minute and think about it, what's the first thing you do when you turn up after you pay your green fees or you pay your comp fees? You walk out and have a putt, don't you? So that's there to go, and we'll be ready and rocking and rolling very soon. Now we go to Oxley Golf Club, which is about 30 minutes southwest of Brisbane CBD, and they are in the early stages of installing, wait for it, their brand new mini golf course. Yes, it's another golf course that's opted to put in a new component of their facility, being a mini golf or a putt-putt golf course. And look, this one's done by a business company called Top Stroke. So it's different to the Shanks one, different to a couple of other ones out there that are dropping them in. But look, it's a welcome addition. These golf courses that are looking for an investment into their future members, into their future players. If it's public as well, getting juniors involved, families involved. Even kids, even little kids involved. We're talking 5 years old, just and they can stand there and swing a putter. Really, really good move, in my opinion, and it's great to see another one doing it. So Oxley are getting it done. So, like I mentioned, there's a few companies out there now installing mini golf, and I've got no doubt more and more clubs are looking for it from an economical point of view. installing them on their land. So, look, I'll keep announcing them as I see them, and I see more and more and hear about more and more all the time, and Oxley is another one to add to the list, guys. We head to South Australia. Now, from one wine-growing region from the Yarra Valley that I mentioned earlier in Victoria to another famous one in the Barossa Valley in South Australia, we go into a course called oh, geez, I'm getting too excited. A course called Tanunda Pines. Now, they've closed their driving range that's attached to the Tanunda Pines golf course, whilst they are building themselves an awesome, and I say awesome coming from a superintendent's point of view and a greenkeeper's point of view, an awesome 30 megalitre irrigation dam. Yes, this is going to be a huge upgrade for Tanunda. I kid you not. Water is a big deal when it comes to golf courses, guys. And you know, whether we like it, whether we're not sure about it, whether we think that water could be used better elsewhere, you honestly, you don't have a golf course without a solid water supply. So Tanunda are doing it. They're getting on with the job. So the Barossa has its moments with dry weather. And look, it's kind of what also works for their wine region in a way. You know, that drier time from, you know, in that area, it's wine, that's part of their flavours. Sometimes those hot, dry summers aren't quite helpful on a golf course though. And Tanunda have worked at getting this dam across the line, which will allow the course to smooth out those humps and hollows of dealing with difficult dry spells maintaining a golf course. And that's what happens. You've got to have a good water supply just to smooth that out a little bit. And it, you know, puts your mind at ease, let me tell you, as a superintendent. Now, don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean they'll be throwing water all over the place, but it means their minds, like I said, will be more at ease to protect their product during difficult times. So it's about using water smartly, it's about using water wisely, but what this gives them is it gives them greater security for a water supply, especially with prolonged dry spells. And after all, South Australia is the driest state in the country of Australia. So, look, a positive move for Tanunda, and I was really impressed when I saw about that and heard about that too. So, look, if you know it, you visit it. If you're up the Barossa, go and have a look at it, Tanunda. And look, it's only going to get better by the sounds of it. Now we go to Glenelg Golf Club in Adelaide, and they've completed some irrigation installation on their new 8th tee, and they've planted out the carry to the fairway as well on that hole. And another project they've been up to is completing the work on their 19th hole. So there's been a little bit going on at Glenelg, a little bit under the radar. I've tried to mention a few things, but they've got there's some things going on there. It's always helpful. Like I mentioned, they've just finished their 19th hole, and it's always helpful to have a 19th hole. And Glenelg have got themselves a good one by the looks from what I've seen. So that's probably something that I'm going to throw up on social media to give you an idea of what it looks like. But not every course can have a 19th hole. It's great to see, though, if you can get it done and you can get it done smartly and wisely within the confines of your space and boundaries, it is a very helpful thing to have on your golf course. So a little bit of work happening in Glenelg there in Adelaide. So good things happening out of South Australia. Really good to see. Now we finish off walking the fairways with the environmental sustainable golf component that I like to kick in here. Now we head back to Coringal, like I mentioned, at Altona there in Melbourne, and they've been working with Kate Torgerson from Environmental Golf Solutions, and they've recently completed the installation of some 10,000 local endemic plants of the Altona area, and they've put them into the golf course. This is a big move, guys. This is a positive move for the club. They've identified some areas of the course that they decided, had no reason to be maintained turf as part of the play. And they've used an army of volunteers to assist in getting all these plants installed. And I've got to say, there are plenty of golf courses out there. And the ones that I worked on in my greenkeeping career, I should say, there's always areas that don't need to be maintained turf. It's an old misnomer from years gone by where everything needed to be grass and cut at rough height, and we just cut from fence to fence. Anywhere we'll cut all the way to the boundaries. That doesn't work. It's not how it should be. There's no reason for it to be. It's a waste of resources, money, and effort and energy in looking after some of these places. So these areas, I should say, on the golf course. So look, Coringal have come up with these improvements. and it's great to see. So working with Kate Torgerson, like I said, they've put in these 10,000 plants, and just wait. These areas that they've done are going to really become these great little parts and corners of the golf course that are going to harbour more flora and fauna, I should say. As the flora grows, you'll see more wildlife living in that area, in those locations. Create little miniature ecosystems around the golf course, and overall the golf course will become a better ecosystem for it. So good things happening at Kooringal in Melbourne, in Victoria. And what I'm going to mention is Tallwoods. Now, I visited Tallwoods there a few months ago up on the mid-north coast of New South Wales. Now, they have just sort of finished up installing their first new nest boxes for local wildlife in the area as part of their wildlife sanctuary initiative that they've taken on. And look, I've just got to congratulate Tallwoods and any other golf course that, as they do these things. I love to hear about it, I love to see it. And well done to Tallwoods for taking up such an initiative. Now, these are really good things. It might not sound like a lot to you guys out there, but these things make a difference in harbouring and looking after some of the fauna around the golf courses, and really making it a protected area for them and a way of harbouring them, and really making the golf course a better local environmental location. So really good things when golf courses are doing this stuff, and I love to see it, love to hear about it, and certainly want to tell you guys a lot more about this sort of stuff. And that's the environmental sustainable golf section of Walking the Fairways, and that is a wrap. Let's get stuck into the Greenkeeper's Shed. Welcome everyone down to my humble abode, the Greenkeeper's Shed. Now, on the Greenkeeper's Shed today, I was sparked by an Instagram post. My tongue's a little bit not working. I was sparked by an Instagram post that I come across recently, where it mentioned at a particular course that they were putting out a new hole location map for the first time for them. They were putting it out for competition players, so they could see where the holes would be located on each green as they were playing their round. Nothing new to some players for sure, but not all courses have this in place for their players. And we didn't have it where I was working at Katoomba Golf Club. I know the time that I was working at Wentworth Falls, they didn't have it either. I know plenty of courses that don't have it, but there are certainly a number that do. And I suppose you wonder, look, after all, the pros get maps when they play in tournaments. So why not the average player in a local comp, right? It's obviously helpful to know how far on the green the hole is located. It's just a step up, I suppose, these location maps. It's just a step up from the coloured flag theory. The front, middle, back. So like you'll have yellow at the front, white at the middle, and blue at the back, or whichever way around it might be. The location maps, just taking it that little bit further. Less effort involved for greenkeepers than the coloured flags. Remember the bubble theory? The big bubble, the big balls that used to be on the pins, where up high on the pin meant that it was at the back, and down low meant that it was at the front. Less work, I suppose, again for the greenkeepers, so that's a good thing, right? Now, I agree with all that from a work perspective, and I've had to do it. It's always helpful to know if the hole is at the back of the green, so you can make sure you select the correct club, right? And the hole maps are good to move the flags around the greens all the time, so there's good rotation for wear around the greens too, so that's a good thing, right? It's equal info for all the players. Good communications between the match committee, greens committee, greenkeepers to know where to place the pins too, so I suppose that's a good thing. It sounds to me like it's a good thing all round, really. So explain this to me. Why do we get hung up on the theory that there needs to be 6 hole locations at the front of the greens, 6 in the middle, and 6 at the back around the 18 holes? And some take it further to equally have 6 on the left, 6 in the middle, and 6 on the right. Is that so it's a good even spread across the golf course? Why can't there be 12 at the front and 6 at the back with none in the middle? Why not have all 18 holes at the back of all the greens? What about all on the left-hand side of the green? Now that sounds a little extreme, I know. What about with hole locations where we worry about 6 in the, having an even split of 3 lots of 6s? We've never really worried about dogleg holes, or the number of par 3s, 4s and 5s. I know there is a course, Ocean Shores has 6 of each, 6 3s, 6 4s and 6 5s, but normally courses don't worry about it. You know, they don't sit there and they go, oh, we've got 2 dog legs left, so we have to have 2 dog legs right, and then the others have to be straight. We have to have an equal split between all of our par 4s in which way the holes turn. What about splitting how many bunkers there are on each hole? Do we have so many holes with no bunkers and so many holes with 3 bunkers and so many holes with... You know, it just gets a little bit ridiculous. I don't know why committees get hung up on this theory about you have to have so many holes at the front, so many in the middle, and so many at the back. I think it's absolutely absurd. I think it's ridiculous. That's my opinion. Now, the main argument that I hear is that for the hole location, in terms of depths of the green, 6 front, 6 middle, 6 back, it's so that the course plays to the distance it is measured from where the markers are set up at that particular coloured plate on the card for the handicap slope rating on that comp. Jeez, talk about making it complicated. Are you guys, look, let me just try and boil it down a little bit. You know, that's the talk that I've heard. That's some of the arguments I've heard from a couple of different golf clubs, that it's all about the measurements so that the slope rating can work for your handicaps and so on and so on and so on. Whatever. Are you guys really that good at playing to that distance for all of your shots? Are you really that good at it? Now, I play a 5, and I know that I'm not. Far from. And I'm only speaking of myself, of course. That said, I know plenty of golfers that aren't that good. Some think they are, but they're actually not. Now, don't get me wrong. It's nice to know that info. It's nice to know where the hole is. Isn't the green a better target for you, honestly, as opposed to the hole itself? Now, I get caught out when I start going for the pin because I'm actually not as good as I think I am. I do it often and I balls it up regularly. Now, I'm moving into a little bit more of golf psychology here, and for that, you probably want to go over to the Mental Mastery Golf podcast with Jamie Glazier and my mate Roscoe Flanagan. They'll probably be able to give you a little bit more insight into that side of stuff. But I do need to talk about a little bit of it because as greenkeepers, we're setting the course up for you, and you're probably sometimes wondering why it gets set up that way. And sometimes committees are involved, there's no doubt about it. Now go back to your targets. Hitting the green is my new target. It's slightly bigger than a golf hole, to be honest. That's why it's my new target. And I'm not that good. I keep thinking I am. And sometimes if you're in the zone, you know, you can kind of go for it. But that's the psychology side of golf. And yeah, sure, to get it close is good. But if you can't see the hole itself because the green's above you, then I can promise you it's more often luck that you'll actually hit it close, because only the best are good enough to know exactly how far they can hit a club every time to a blind target. I promise you. That's why we strive to improve, because not every one of us mere mortals are the best players. The ones that are play in our big events, our local club open tournaments, compete at championships, etc. Not to mention the girls and guys that we watch on TV doing it. They are that good. They actually are that good. So let's look about it practically. Let's take an old style, rough, circle, round shape type green from an older course, say. And let's say it's about 300 square metres of putting surface. That's not too bad for a pretty old green. And I'm talking like something that I'm familiar with up in the Blue Mountains. You know, some of the stuff that I used to play on up there, it's pretty much those sorts of sizes. And those courses up there, they've got heaps of them. And that's about the median size that I'm talking about for a lot of the courses up there. Now, at 300 metres squared, it's about 20 metres long down the centre line of the green, okay? Just to give you an idea, from front to back, it's about 20 metres, a 300 square metre putting green. So if the front edge, so try and follow me here, if the front edge is 0 metres, that's your start point, and the back edge is 20 metres, that means that the halfway mark, the centre of the green, would be at 10 metres, right? Now let's say you're a 150 out from that green on a par 4. Just say you are. You got a 150 shot in. At that 150, and that 150 metres is measured to the centre. And if the hole was located at the front, it's going to be about 5 metres past the front edge, or thereabouts, which puts it at 5 metres short of the centre, like I said. The center is 10 meters. So it's 5 meters on. Can you hit a shot 145 meters and not 150 meters? Can you actually do that with confidence? Does it really matter that you know if the hole is at the front or not? It's what I'm trying to tell you. We're talking a matter of a few meters. That's the difference for a lot of the courses we play on. Yeah, sure, there's plenty of the newer courses out there with much, much larger greens. But most of you guys out there listening and playing, a lot of your golf greens are not that large. They're not really as big as you think they are. So I'm talking a few meters, right? Are you actually that good? Are you? I don't know. Think about it. Maybe you are. Let's take it up a notch. Let's double it. Let's double that green. A large green could be considered to be around 700 square meters. Now, for an older course with old greens, that's up there. There's not too many of those courses that are, best part of 80, 90 years old that have many greens that are original age, original shapes that are around 700. That's huge, right? So if you use the same principle of a roundish green, like one of those old course greens, and there's plenty of those that means that the green is now 30 meters long down the center line. That's the only difference to double the size. It's now 30 meters long for a rough roundish type green from the front edge to the back edge. Now 0 meters again at the front, 30 meters at the back, which now makes it 15 meters from the front edge of the green, 15 meters to the middle. If the hole is at the front, it would be around again 5 meters from the front edge, and your 150 meter shot that's measured to the middle, to that front flag, is now at 140 meters to a frontish hole location. How good are you at hitting your shot exactly 140? I rate myself now. So we're in the 10 meter gaps. This is what I work on. My club range between my irons is about 10 meters. I rate myself in this. But in the nature of golf and in the mental side of the game, I've got a pretty high chance of not hitting it within 5 meters of that hole. Again, it's not that big a difference. Your green should be your target. This is what I'm trying to tell you. What I'm saying is, do you need a hole map to tell you the hole is at the front, or can you just see it for yourself? Are we creating more work for our golf courses here by making these hole maps? You can see that front flag for yourself. You don't need a map to tell you that it's at the front. You can just see it. And if you can't see the hole on the green, you're not good enough to hit it there anyway, because it's a blind target like I talked about before. Just go for the green. With confidence, you can go for the green. You'll be surprised how much better you will play using the green as your target. I promise you'll play better golf for it. Now, from a maintenance perspective, these maps can really put you in a pickle. Even without maps, the 666 rule can put you in a pickle. The coloured flags, the 3 different colours for the 3 different front, middle, backs. You see, we as greenkeepers tend to deal with lots of issues on a golf course that you players, general players out there might not even realise. That's why we maintain them. And we're not always able to control every bit of pressure that's on the greens. You've seen the results of us not being able to control all the pressure. I can tell you, you've seen the results when it gets the better of us. Heat stress, leaving the odd dry patch or even dead areas in extreme instances. Disease and pest stress that leaves visible damage on the putting surface. Rain, where you can have constant rainfall that can sometimes have pooling in certain areas on the greens. This is just to name a few. Now, these problems can throw a full spanner in your hole location maps, people. If you're any committee members or board members listening to me, or even the 6-6 rule can, the 666 rule. We always want to keep the holes away from these areas, especially when it's hot, and we know which areas go off at the drop of a hat even before that day's golf has even finished. We don't want to put it in certain locations because it's going to stress them out more. If you go by a hole location map or the 666 theory, you're going to get caught out. You're going to make us get caught out by it. We're trying to protect them, to get them through stressful times, stressful periods in some situations. So this can shoehorn us into putting somewhere that we don't have a choice. If we go outside that, people will get a little bit disappointed and go, oh, the hole's not where it should have been because I've got the map here. It tells me it should be here. There was 5 at the front and there was 7 in the middle and 6 at the back. Oh, we can't have that. You know why? 'Cause it's not enough flags. Usually some courses don't have a budget to buy, that many extra coloured flags. Sometimes they just have to do it. And committees will put rules in place that's got to be done that way. We always want to try and protect certain areas of the greens before the damage has even been done. There's no leeway with these hole location maps. Now, it's coming from a greenkeeper, and you're probably going to sit there and go, oh, well, get on with it, stop whinging and carrying on. But I'm telling you, these things can cause little problems along the way, and it's just not managed. You kind of think, like I said at the very beginning of the Greenkeeper Shed, it all sounds like it makes sense and it's going to make life easier, but it just doesn't quite convert practically, because not every green is the same. Not every green is under the same stress conditions. They've all got different. It's not a repetitive situation. Every green is not exactly the same. So you can't put this across all the greens. It doesn't quite work out that way in reality. So this is what I'm trying to say. Good in theory, not quite so good in practice. Now, for an open event or a championship event that is only going to go for a few days or weekends at a time during the year max, easy for us to navigate and deal with afterwards. Go for it. Put the whole location maps out there for your championships. Put it out there for your open event at your local club. That's a great idea. I reckon that's fantastic. But for every week in competition, get over it. That's absolutely ridiculous, and it actually borders on silly, in my opinion, to think that you guys want it, to be the same things every week, the same. It's impractical. That's what I'm trying to say. So when I saw this post on Instagram about a club that was introducing it, it's going to cause headaches and it's going to cause frustration. And then there will be frustration between committee members, between greenkeepers, between staffs and boards and so on like that. It's just that's what it's going to create. And I think I'm just trying to talk to you out there. If you're at a club and you're considering it, talk to your superintendent, talk to your greenkeeper, see what they think. My personal opinion, I don't think they're good. For championship events and short-term events, absolutely great idea for players. But every week, for Wednesday comps, midweek comps, weekend comps, impractical. Move away, forget it, get over it, move on. There's plenty of courses that do it, but I'm telling you again, in my opinion, it's not a great move. And what seems, like I said, like something that'll take the stress away, setting up a course, and it just keeps adding frustration. So, look, guys, for the rest of the year, for all other regular events, just go out there and play golf and enjoy doing so. Enjoy your golf. Don't get bogged down in the detail. The more you think you know from this kind of arrangement in golf, the worse off you will end up being in numerous other ways, I promise. Do away with the whole maps. But bring them out on special occasions, and trust me, as a club, as boards and committees, if you roll them out on special occasions, your players and your members and your visitors alike are going to think it's the best thing in the world. But if you bring it out for every week and every comp, it's just going to be a total mess over time. Not worth it. That's my opinion. That's a Greenkeeper Shed, guys. I hope you found it a little bit interesting, and maybe you're looking at the whole location maps in a little bit of a different way in the future. And I'm curious. Send a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are on this one. I'm not a fan of it, but I'm coming from a greenkeeper's perspective. So, there's probably other supers out there that are on my side of it as well, and there's probably plenty of players that think the opposite. I'd be curious to see, happy to discuss, but that's my opinion about it, and I don't think it's a practical move. That's the Greenkeeper Shed, guys. Hope you enjoyed that one. Something a little bit different. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to an end of episode number 22. Like, share, subscribe, as they say. Listeners, I really hope you get something out of the episode, and please do pass it around. I'm happy to have conversations with you about some of the topics today that I mentioned, and really love to talk about all sorts of different things, as you know. So, look, happy for you to get involved, and please do pass it around. I really appreciate it. And if you wouldn't mind, I would love a review or two, if you don't mind, on the podcast platform as well. It keeps it improving and it keeps it moving forward. So would love to hear from you in that regard as well. So look, guys, that's a wrap for episode number 22. Like I said, the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. You hit 'em clean and we'll keep 'em green. Look forward to catching you on episode number 23.